Hi, and welcome back to 15. I'm Luke. Of course, we've got Dan here. Dan, we're back from our hiatus. Takes a glug, Luke carries on. Dan, thanks for joining us today.
How the devil are you, Squire?
Very nice to see you. All the better for seeing you. Dan, we've kept ourselves away from the limelight since the Oscars. Easy for me to
Very
say.
much. We had to go to ground. I don't know if the listeners know this, but Luke's actually in America
Yep.
and I'm in the UK, and CIA been phone tapping us pretty much is what we got. So we've been joking around. Turns out they were listening to us all that time. So had to hit the hay, metaphorically speaking.
I think they're very lucky CIA operatives to be listening to our phone calls. Like,
I
I mean,
reckon
you've hit gold
I
there.
reckon Brent would have had a good chuckle.
Yeah. Is that his
Other
name?
American names?
Chad,
Brad,
Justin, the nick
uh,
of time.
Troy.
So Dan, apart from that excellent repartee, why
Yeah.
else should people listen to the podcast? So obviously, usually we do the blah blah blah, 15 minutes, who cares, all this stuff. But that's not enough to get us out of our rut. But
No,
Barbenheimer has captured the zeitgeist this summer.
Barbenheimer. Did you see
So,
that tweet? Somebody went and saw Oppenheimer but there was something wrong. It was like the film corrupted or something, and
all right.
it was actually in purple. Half the screen was in purple, and so they were like, "It's the actual Barbenheimer. I'm seeing it for real."
Oh, very good. Very
Yeah,
good. I guess you had to see the tweet.
yeah, you did. Or not be blind.
Not be blind. Dan, I'd like to go through one episode where I can post this without fear of losing my job. So let's just stay away from that one.
Do you think blind people stay away from the cinema? One for the Twitter feed, maybe.
Start a storm on there with that one. Let's jump in to Oppenheimer first. So me and Dan watched these independently, although we call each other every day, always on the phone.
Oh,
We
chewing his
managed
ear
to
off.
those calls to the USA, charging a
Mm,
fortune.
mm.
Um,
10 pence a minute.
we've managed to tiptoe around the topic of Oppenheimer and Barbie. So this is relatively fresh perspective. We've got the inkling of your thoughts on some of
I
them.
saw it today.
You saw Oppenheimer today.
Today.
Wonderful. We're hot
Grace and
on the
Debs.
pulse. Grace and Debs. Let's get to the viewing experience in a minute. Dan,
Okay.
I'm kicking us off. Oppenheimer, film of the year. Dan, go.
4.5 stars.
Ooh, let's say that to the end. Okay, build the tension.
Build the tension. No, isn't this a masterclass in performance?
Oh, you want to start with performance?
Yeah.
Let's get to performance in a second. Let's sort of
Okay.
build up
Where do you
structure.
want to start?
Let's let's start with the structure and
Okie
talk about
dokie.
Nolan because Nolan is the man here. It's
He
not
is.
performances. Let's get to them in a second. I've got a few little things on them later on. Nolan, he loves to deconstruct how he tells a story. He likes this sort of tripartite three act structure, which he's done a few times.
Somebody swallowed a thesaurus.
Well, I mean, I've actually never heard that used in film, but you use it in paintings, don't you? When you have three segments of a painting put together. So I think you can use it here.
Somebody's been to art college.
And and so obviously the three themes are, well, the strands. We have the bomb,
Big
we
bomb.
have this kangaroo court
Yep.
hearing, and we have the perspective of not Louis Strauss, how did they pronounce it? Strauss in black and white all the way through. And I thought that was an exceptional way to tell a story because that mixed with the way it's edited, the editing, not to sound too pretentious, but the editing's the star of the show here now. And then
Is it? Or is it? It's soundscape.
from
Ooh.
Ludwig Gunnarsson or whatever it's called, the guy who's like the next predecessor to Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
Exceptional score, but the chronology. Dan, this is 3 hours, and I didn't blink. I honestly, it raced that away from me. I didn't blink. I seen a doctor.
Chopsticks. Chopsticks?
Oh,
Cocktail
let's
stick.
stay away from. What are you doing with your eyes?
Do you reckon midgets? Chinese midgets? Chopsticks? Cocktail
Chinese.
sticks?
Right, come on, keep moving. What you saying? Do you reckon Chinese midgets use chopsticks as stilts? Is that what
No,
you're going
cocktail
about?
sticks.
Oh.
So the tiny hands.
Uh,
Right. Okay. Let's dive in properly. So yes, you're right.
Apologies.
Um, It was nice, wasn't it? And what I think was particularly done well, and I'm always a big fan of it, and we've spoken about it on this podcast before, but the use of black and white to kind of signify that. I loved the way that as we then encountered these flashbacks, but that were flash forwards, but they were happening in real time, then they then became into color. I really enjoyed that.
Which we've seen him do in Memento, but he was using that to show the perspective, wasn't he?
Of course he was, yeah.
Let's actually set the scene a bit. Let's set the table. Dan, I'm happy to say I was in a packed cinema for this. Same with Barbie. Barbie was heaving. You went with Grace. Grace, obviously lovely, but more importantly, we went with Debs. Love Debs. Debs is Dan's slightly overbearing mother. Oh, fell asleep.
Had to wake her up twice. At that point, she decided to go up. Got out of the cinema, went and bought herself a cup of tea and a bag of sweets.
That'll keep her awake. Cup of tea. She walked out of the film
for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes was gone.
Mental.
Came back in just before they tested the bomb. So probably I couldn't tell you the testament to the pacing. I couldn't tell you what point they do test the bomb. It's got to be about an hour and 40, 2 hours.
Yeah,
but
2 hours.
Yeah. So frustrating. But
I shouldn't have gone down this. I shouldn't
keep your head straight. Tunnel vision. Watch the film. Enjoy the film. You will enjoy the film.
Well, we got into a big discussion with my partner of whether she should come because
you call her your partner.
Because I didn't want her selfishly. I didn't want her complaining or being bored. And I was like, I don't really care about you here. This is my experience. I want to watch it. So you can come and enjoy it, or just don't come. She did come in the end. She actually loved it.
Fun fact for you: Mum did that thing right at the end. I didn't know it was coming up. She goes, he dies of cancer. Shut up! Just we'll save it for the fucking end. Do you know what I mean?
Imagine she was the audio description. Now he's dying of cancer. That's how the blind watch the films.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let's try and jump back into this one then. Let's go to performances. Okay, let's go straight to performances.
Let's start with them. So we've got Luke talked about it. We've got the bomb. We've got this kangaroo court.
Performance.
We've got Lewis
The kangaroo
Strauss.
was amazing.
So I think actually the three performances that stand out most readily for me are contained within that. Lewis Strauss, played by Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, Dan, isn't he devilishly good? Come on.
He's
so
very
good. I think he has got supporting actor pretty much locked up.
It's something I want to talk about. But wasn't he just the consummate politician? I mean...
He's very much the shake your hand whilst he slips a knife into your back. Perfect.
Phenomenal.
And
I saw it coming, but I didn't see it coming.
Because your mum said, he's getting that bad.
I saw it coming at the right time. Do you know what I mean? You knew that there was shade.
The turn.
The turn, you could tell. In the Kangaroo Court, best performance for me by far was Emily Blunt. That sort of switch, that engage into fifth gear, just phenomenal. And she just played that kind of hard-bearing woman. She'd been with him a long time. Alcohol gets her through it, but that kind of harassed, but not. She's still there.
Yeah, his problems become her problems, and she carries that weight. Yes, for years 100%. And years and years.
And she just took that on her shoulders very well, without it being overplayed, with it feeling really real and really kind of, genuine. And then the bomb is just, it's Cillian Murphy's movie, but the bomb is Cillian Murphy. I
was trying to remember earlier, is there a frame of this film where Cillian Murphy's not in it? Like, he feels, maybe it's just because of the weight of his performance, he feels like he's in every single scene in this film. But he is obviously terrific.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrific.
Sublime. Tortured, conflicted, arrogant. There's parts when you're like, I don't like you. Then there's parts where you're like, oh, I know I'm rooting for you again. There's parts when you sort of thinking, what are you doing? You're almost begging him. And that's testament to screenplay, direction, and Nolan's handiwork in writing it as well. So
let me just jump on that for a second, because I love what you picked up there. Like, the film never loses its own moral compass, like which I'll jump back to in a second. But they keep Oppenheimer such an ambiguous character. Like, we know he's good at heart, but his ego and his drive and his genius sort of push him towards accepting this bomb as a, as something that's for the greater good, which we don't ever get to. In terms of not losing its moral compass, how brilliant was, I know we just don't want to pick up too many scenes, but I don't think these are big spoilers. They decided to extend that space, that grace period between, the sight of sound and the speed of sound and speed of light, right?
Yeah.
So you see the bomb, and it's a huge
and that's the only silent part
silence.
in the film. And that's why I wanted to talk about soundscape. But yeah, go on.
And silence for ages. And in that, it's meant to bring home the harrowing nature and the sheer power of what they've created. And then it comes straight back to the cheering and the hollering and this sort of partisan atmosphere. Also, just to jump on a little bit more things, just to keep moving us. Nolan, I've never seen him in any of his other films really be so figurative and experimental. There's a few moments, going back to the bomb, when he's giving that, all the fans are in the bleachers.
Yeah, and it starts blurring behind him and
that impassioned
vibrating
speech. Yeah, and you see these who would be victims of the bomb, and you see them in the audience, and then also the Florence Pugh, when she's draped over him in the sex in the kind of court. I've never seen Nolan like that before, so that was
funny that stuck in your mind.
But she was very good.
Which
she was
part?
Very good. Both of them.
Sexist pig.
But she was really good. Let's actually stick with cameos.
Can I just jump on something there, because I think it ties in. What I loved is the way it played. That you're right, 100%. It never lost its moral compass, but the ambiguity with which it discussed it by jumping back and forth, there was comments that really stuck out for me in the dialogue. He says, it's a shame we couldn't have used it on the Germans. What an incredible thought, that if they had been a year, that if they'd got that 18-month jump, Europe as today would be so different. But then little things like, I was told, and it's a throwaway comment, but I was told that Japan were nearly ready to surrender. And it's like, oh, okay. So, he's not been garnished with the whole truth. And, that's true of the war, that, it wasn't needed. The bomb wasn't needed. And it was, and that's actually ties me on to another great little cameo in Gary Oldman. How fucking brilliant was he as Truman? Nasty piece of work. And just that, 5-minute scene, if that, you completely kind of changes your mind again. So it plays by its nature, by the way it's edited, by its structure, it plays with that and keeps you kind of tossing and turning. And Grace came out of it and was like, I'm not sure how, I wonder how the Japanese feel about this film. And
it's not showing there. They're not showing it in Japan.
Are they not?
I wonder why. What?
Yeah.
But
do you know what I mean?
They're not showing it in Japan.
A kind of a real criticism of jingoism by talking about it and kind of depicting it in such an honest way.
When they take Kyoto off the
the
possible options. Oh, me and my wife loved the holiday there.
We honeymooned there. Yeah,
but the whole dialogue, in a sense, definitely had almost as though like Sorkin had gone over it and just put a bit of zest into it. Everything had a little bit more pop and a little bit of
What did Matt Damon say? He says, there's no way of counting the costs. Oppenheimer says, there's no way of counting the costs. He goes, sure you do. Just add up all the numbers at the end.
Matt Damon, let's stick with Matt Damon, because he's I've heard him twice in the build up to this and sort of post this around promotion. Two interesting comments. The first one was talking about Christopher Nolan, saying how he's never worked with a director who's so exquisite at translating information to actors. And he says you really shouldn't take it for granted why performances are so good in his film. It's Nolan who's sort of the puppet master behind that. And then this other one, which is a really fun one, which is this is true. Matt Damon's like really good value for money, by the way, when you hear him talk and stuff. Yeah, he went to couples therapy with his partner, his wife.
Yeah,
partner. There's that word again. Partner. And
they
had an agreement that he was going to stop acting for a sabbatical unless Christopher Nolan came calling. And as chance happens, Christopher Nolan comes calling. I'm surprised you didn't pick up Matt Damon in your performances. I know he plays a bit of a straight guy. And he's not the most depth guy, but
I really enjoyed him. I just feel
awesome.
That the three main characters for me are, Matt Damon gets in all the press and publicity. We've seen him, but it's only because he's Matt Damon. I feel like he very much, and I would say this of all the actors in his sphere, the performances are exceptional. Gary Oldman, I've mentioned, Matt Damon, all of the other scientists that have quite important roles. I feel like they all sit there very comfortably. But for me, Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt, and then Cillian Murphy in that order kind of hold this kind of third, second, and first position.
Dan, why is Kenneth Branagh so obsessed with doing European accents at the moment?
Well,
I'm glad get enough of them.
Do you know what's funny? We saw the trailer for the new Agatha Christie film.
Yes, which is like a horror. They've turned it into a horror or something. Anyway, we'll do that later
on the night on Venice or something.
Yeah,
and then it was like he's there again, and it's like, oh, Poirot, you're back.
Well, they did well keeping everything on the wraps.
Tom Conti is Einstein.
Nina Conti's dad, as Einstein. Rami Malek. When Rami first is there, you see a shot before he talks, before you get him in the face. And I saw him and went, that looks like Rami Malek. And it is. And it's like, he must come back again. He does come back a little bit again at the end, but he doesn't have a huge part. It just shows that people want to work with Nolan, doesn't it, really? And then Josh from Drake and Josh, Dan.
Which one was he?
Josh Peck, the guy that presses
no. Which one was Josh?
He lost a lot of weight, but he presses the big red button when they're doing the test. That's Josh from Drake and Josh. Is it? Dan, where was Drake?
Prison?
Child pornography.
Keep it light. Don't want to go near tiny Chinese midgets, but you're going near child pornography.
Well, convicted. There's no more allegedly now. It doesn't feel like 3 hours. Also, you do need a good understanding of history for this film, like you do, but I don't mind that. Like Nolan shows that he makes intelligent films. He requires a lot from his audience. So
but this is true of Tenet as well, is that the science doesn't. You don't have to know what they're talking about to understand this film. They don't focus too much on it's just accepted. It's show, don't tell. We're shown that they can do it, and you just have to believe it, and it kind of, keeps working. I have a question. You probably know the answer. So there was all the press and publicity about that they didn't use any CGI and all the shots are kind of real. Did they recreate them? Are they archive footage that's been remastered? So the shots of the tests and stuff, the bomb, he didn't drop atomic bombs.
No, apparently he did do a bomb.
What?
Unless I'm really mistaken here, because this was like a while ago. This is what it was being filmed last year. I'm pretty sure he actually did a bomb. Great grammar. He actually exploded a bomb. Even worse grammar. No, but I'm pretty sure he did. Actually, going back to what you said, I think the visual representation was really good as well.
Yeah,
like the particles.
I made a comment on that. That its use of sound and the visualization of whatever was excellent. It was brilliant.
You don't need to know the science, do you know?
You don't need to know the science.
Wonderful. Yeah. Anything else? Best film since Inception for Nolan, right? Better than Interstellar, better than Dunkirk, better than Tenet.
Not better than The Dark Knight.
No, that's not since Inception. Dark Knight Rises was after Inception.
Yes, then I would agree. My only thing is, I think at times it became a little bit rambling, and I think that's deliberate.
I didn't get that at all.
Because it's kind of that nature of it's telling his life. He says that right at the start. The only way I can defend myself is tell you my whole story. And so I understand that it is tracking his whole life, but you've converted me. I'm a 90-minute man, and to sit for double that,
I do love a 90-minute film, but I know I'm sort of putting my soul early here, but I love the idea that for like 2 years in a row now, because I hope I can watch a film that's better than this year, but I doubt it, that my two favorite films would be two massive, unashamable, huge blockbusters. Like, There's Nope was last year, Oppenheimer this year. I don't think I want to see a film that's better than it. But my feeling of leaving, I couldn't stop grinning and smiling at just how clever and how he'd done it. It was more my feeling of God, he's done it. He's actually done it.
He's done it.
So impressive.
Do you think it's got rewatch?
Einstein.
Sorry, go on.
The ending with Einstein and how he tied it all back to the human element, just like brilliant. And then the whole way they comeuppance to RDJ, like it might be something more important. Like, how good is that?
That was so sweet. That whole arc. Yeah, brilliant. And the kind of really subtle little smirks from the guy who's on his side, but the wall's been pulled from over his eyes at that point, and is kind of glad. That was nice. Do you think it's got rewatchability?
That's a good question. So actually tying it back to Nope, the reason why I haven't watched Nope again, even though I adored it last year, is because I liked the cinematic scale of it, the fact that it was like a big show. I'd want to see it in the cinema again. Mind you, a lot was made that you had to see this in IMAX. It was shot on IMAX, film roll, etc. But it was mostly dialogue. don't think you had to see it in IMAX. The sound improved it. That really helped.
Did you hear this? So apparently people were walking out because the sound quality they couldn't hear, because Nolan doesn't change his audio, does he, after in post-production?
Yeah, no,
we went in kind of worried, and we were like, it's absolutely fine. Like, it's perfect. There's no problem at all.
Yeah, no, I didn't have an issue with it. I did have an issue with Tenet. I really struggled with Tenet, with the dialogue. And I actually rewatched it and I really enjoyed it the second time. I actually loved Tenet, but when I had the
subtitles on,
it was even better. It was even better. But they were backwards, or they were very confusing. Okay, that was bad. Okay, let's move on then, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
So you said 4.5. That's a comfortable 5 stars for me, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Excellent, absolutely excellent. So Dan, what's the next film? What's the other side of the coin to Oppenheimer?
Sort of amazingly well thought through, once in a generation director, Barbie.
See, I think you're being tongue in cheek there, but I kind of agree with what you just said.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
Let's start on level playing field. Where we both park our cars in the same garage. Ryan Gosling.
So I would love that, because I saw a tweet about this that said, wouldn't it be amazing if the two people who go up for Best Supporting Actor are Ryan Gosling and Robert Downey Jr.?
Oh, I think he'll get nominated.
I would love to see it. And I think both performances are 100% worthy of the role.
Oh, definitely.
Of the nomination and the award, to be quite honest.
They don't vote for comedies, though, really, do they? They'll get nominated, but I don't think they'll give it. They don't usually give it comedic performances. Sometimes in supporting they do.
Why do you? You'll know the answer to this. Why do I think Leonardo DiCaprio shouldn't have won for whatever he won it for?
He won it for Revenant.
Yeah, why should he not?
Did you think that was because it was like a culmination of his past performances and not really just for that role?
Correct. And what role should he have won it for?
Probably Wolf of Wall Street.
Blood
incredible.
Diamond.
Oh yeah, his accent, his Namibian accent in Blood Diamond is incredible.
So for me, Ryan Gosling is the savior of this film, because without him, I think it wouldn't hold up.
What's that got to do with DiCaprio?
I just think it would. I'd love him to win that. I'd love him to win it based on that, because it's a performance that saves the film.
To be fair, to go so off-piste, Ryan Gosling is actually my favorite actor. Has been for a long time, but because my favorite ever performance of any actor was when Ryan Gosling was first nominated. Even before that, he did a film called Half Nelson in 2005 when he was nominated for Best Actor, and his performance in that is unbelievable. So he should have won it for that, Dan, but he didn't. So he might get it this time. Eventually.
Yeah, he was exceptional.
Let's touch on it again then. Yeah, comic timing, wonderfully confused character, Beach. Yeah. You need to say more. I laughed every time at Beach.
I'm Beach.
Just Beach.
And he's reinvented the misogynistic doctor scene from the title was previously held by Roger Moore for A Woman.
A woman.
Can I see a doctor? Can I do a appendectomy?
You're talking to her.
Oh, there's a doctor over there. Can somebody get security?
But yeah, no, and then the idea that he's such a deeply hurt person and discovers the male world, and just he treads the line. Like, he is the comedic relief in a comedy film, which feels bizarre because the comedy film always this strays into existentialism, very satirical. So you kind of need those easy gags. That said, not to let's sort of go well in line of how you viewed it again. So I viewed this quite early on, so it was heaving the cinema. Everyone was wearing pink. I actually missed the pink memo.
We wore pink.
I have plenty of pink clothes. And I think it went over every single kid's head in the cinema, that film.
It wasn't for kids, was it? That's what's nice.
It's not a kid's film.
It's very much for our generation, sort of the 20, well, probably even...
millennials, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And that felt really refreshing. I enjoyed who it was pitched at. I kind of respect that. I think that takes guts and tenacity to do that. Especially like if you call it Barbie, the kids are going to go.
Yes. Yeah, Hunter, and I've got a little bit more on that later, but we'll do that after Barbie. But I thought I adore this film. I thought it was an absolute triumph. I thought it was like whimsical, but it was deep at the same time and sentimental. I thought it was like ambitious, but super personal, like accessible to a point, as in you can veil veil it to the masses that they understand the film when they probably don't understand.
Can we stay on performances? So let's go to Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
I feel that the role that she was playing, she was very good. It's not a criticism, but it wasn't a particularly taxing role. It's like Judi Dench in Cats. Do you know what I mean? She turns up.
No, it's not like that. But I think she adds a lot of humanity to the role really well.
Very good.
I've seen a lot of some people saying, "Oh yeah, she's definitely gonna get nominated for an Oscar and stuff." I'm like, well, I don't think it's Oscar worthy.
No, not at all.
I wouldn't go that far. She's a very good actress.
Yeah, and it's a good performance.
And it's a good performance, but it's not incredible. It's not like I left the cinema and I didn't really think about it. I thought about Michael Cera as Alan. Yeah. Every single gag had me laughing. I was like the only one laughing in the cinema a lot of the times at his stuff because they've probably seen like 7 of the same joke, but I was just there every time.
You enjoy it nonetheless. We'd recently watched Babylon, and Margot Robbie is far superior in that to this film. So I guess that I'm going to naturally compare her 2 roles, even though they're wildly, wildly different.
I started watching Amsterdam last night. You know, the David O. Russell flop from early this year. By the way, it's crap. So incredibly boring. Margot Robbie's in that, and she's also very, very good in that as well.
She's having a bit of a renaissance.
I mean, she never went away, to be honest.
No, but you know what I mean.
Right, let's get into some of the negatives because I know you're going to fire some away.
Well,
I don't mind the Will Ferrell stuff. I don't mind the Will Ferrell clan because it shows the male incompetence for which the like anthemic feminism at the end is a perfect thing to play off of.
I think for me, the screenplay lets this down and it's its weakest point. I think the dialogue is excellent and I think the dialogue really shines throughout the whole thing. I think it is pithy. I think it's very funny. I think
whimsical,
whimsical, and I think that's down to Greta Gerwig, isn't it? Because she gets that very much. Again, like you said about sort of Aaron Sorkin going across it, it's got that rhythm, it's got that tempo. Mm-hmm. It feels very vibrant, which is what this film needs. Mm-hmm. The real world, when the moment they leave Barbie Land, any time out of Barbie Land, I really felt it struggled in terms of what it was doing. It almost did that classic thing of like, any other kind of whatever category you would class sort of Elf and all those other films in. Mm-hmm. It just kind of got in its lane, got on the tracks and just chugged along. And then when it got back to Barbie Land, then it was suddenly a little bit different and a little bit creative and a little bit kind of back on that kind of feminist, aggressive line, which was kind of the point of the movie. And I think if you'd have cut certain scenes, like the whole Will Ferrell angle, which, this kind of alluded to this threat of the box. Yeah, that never went anywhere. I just feel that kind of lessened the film for me, and it sort of just became a bit painted by numbers, run of the mill. And then so it's bookended, right? The middle just felt weak for me.
Yeah, I understand. I do. I take your point that a couple of the concepts felt almost like doodles on the side of a page, and they were like semi half baked.
Yeah.
And I also admit, when I went into the cinema, I didn't know much about the film. I assumed we were going to see, like an elf, Barbie in the real world, and we didn't. And I'm glad we didn't see that film because I thought the world building of Barbie was great. The set design, wonderful.
Yeah,
very nice, almost Zeus-esque in a way, like a little bit, just sort of how the houses were proportioned, etc., and the weird lighting.
And Helen Mirren going, they don't have stairs, so we don't have stairs. It's like...
But yeah, no, I like the Will Ferrell stuff because, I didn't really like Will Ferrell. I'm not a huge Will Ferrell fan anyway, and he is just like I don't know if he takes direction at this stage, but it was postmodern and it was self-aware, and I think it fit into the overall feel of the film. I didn't mind it too much, and you kind of had to have a villain because although Ken had those villain vibes, he wasn't the villain of the film really. Like, he wasn't a true villain, and he has his redemption. He's just a silly, confused, dim character. So I think they had to pin it on someone else. I quite like the casting, though.
Oh, yeah.
Kate McKinnon's really good as the.
I felt the casting was odd. It kind of, some of the characters, I liked how there was like 20 million Kens, and I didn't mind that.
I laughed every time they did Ken. Or Ken, saying the same name.
Hi, Ken.
Every time. Mm-hmm.
Hi, Ken. Hi, Barbie. I thought the Barbies were good. There were some kind of external characters which didn't kind of land for me. And also, I didn't like I felt like I was kind of playing, Suits or whatever. Oh, there's half of new Doctor Who cast. Oh, there's half of Sex Education cast. Oh, there's half of that guy from Love Island was in it. Like, there's this kind of weird because it was filmed in Britain, they obviously got the creme de la creme of British actors to, that's the casting director. So I didn't mind what they were doing, but I did feel that some of the choices were a little bit obvious. Like Rob Brydon, I don't want to see Rob Brydon in that film.
I want to see Rob Brydon in the film. He gets his one line. Good on him. Something I did see that was quite interesting. So because we're both on Letterboxd now, I mostly see my reviews via that, and I don't really massively check out Metacritic anymore. For the ones that know, Rotten Tomatoes is trash. Metacritic's where it's at, or Letterboxd. So I thought,
I always Google Roger Ebert, even though he's dead.
Even though he's dead, but still well manned website. Yeah. Metacritic. So they obviously have the critics and then the user score, and so the critics 80 for Metacritic. That's very, very good. User score was 51 or like 5.9 for Barbie, and pretty much every comment was either it used the phrases preached, rant, feminism, right? These right, bizarre, right? And there's a lot of them, Dan. There's loads of them. Or the other one is, oh God, I looked across and kids weren't getting it. It's like, first of all, why do you give a shit if the kids are getting it? Who cares? They're not going to get it.
Welcome to reviews.
They're dumb kids. And the other one is, if you're so insecure that 85-90% of films are about men, you can't watch one film that is about women, actually makes unbelievable points and is exceptionally well written towards the end. I understand it would be quite annoying in American cinemas where apparently women are starting to holler and cheer during these bits, which, I mean, I don't want people cheering anyway.
That would annoy this bit. I thought the feminism was
actually when the bomb went off.
Entry level. I didn't think it was that kind of high concept, really.
What, the gender politics?
Yeah, not at all. And I think that was deliberate.
I thought it was quite impassioned. I quite liked it.
I think it was impassioned, but I don't think it was sophisticated. And I think that's deliberate because it was a film created. Everybody was going to go and see this film. So I think it's very much trying to speak to people at a level that they will accept. I think if you are too I didn't think it was preachy. I think if you go too preachy and go too ranty, then people just switch off. And I didn't think it was that at all. I think probably I was the other way in that I was like, I would agree with all this stuff. So I'm not really getting fired up by it. But I think if you were kind of more of the masses, shall we say, delicately tread here, then I think you would kind of go, actually, yeah, I kind of see what they're saying. I agree with this. Obviously, the other 51% who didn't turn out to vote probably feel like that because negative reviewers are always, most loudest.
I love the feeling of when I'm in a cinema and I'm like quite a way into a film and I catch myself, or it doesn't have to be in a cinema, I just catch myself thinking, God, I'm absolutely adoring this. Like when I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once and I caught myself when they changed to rocks, bold on top of the cliff.
Yeah.
I caught myself going, oh my God,
this is phenomenal.
This is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I did it in Barbie when they're doing I'm Just Ken.
And I'm Just Ken singing slaps. Jesus. I've got this as a note I want to talk about. Because I said, I've got the question, the song and the message, will they hold up? Because we've already got Barbie Girl, by Aqua, 90-something, 89, 90,
late
whatever.
90s, yeah.
I think it's earlier. I don't think it's late 90s, is it?
Oh, really? I'd be surprised if it's early. Okay, anyway, whatever, fine.
Tweet in. But that's held up. This song,
Sorry, what do you mean that's held up?
Well, it's a shit song, but it's held up. Come on, Barbie, let's go.
Yeah, because
party.
of Barbie. I don't think it's not.
And I'm sure Ken will hold. I'm Just Ken will hold up. I've listened to that so much. It absolutely slaps hard. It's amazing. Ryan Gosling should win best song personally himself. Just his delivery. I didn't know he could sing. It's amazing.
Well, he's not that bad in La La Land at singing. I know he's not amazing, but he's not that bad. I mean, I can't sing, but Dan's killing himself to that. In terms of setting the scene, by the way, I was obviously, as I said, I watched this in a packed cinema, and as we started, it goes dark. I noticed the girl in front of me has her phone on. I'm like, she's got her phone on, and then I realized she's taking a Snapchat video of the film, And I think, God, she's taking a snapshot, whatever, yeah. And it's like a minute and she's still filming. I'm like, oh no, this person's filming the film. So I told her to stop, right? And I didn't tell her to stop out of some like vigilante, do not film it. It's because I'm in the dark and all I can see is your frigging phone. But I felt like I was the
supports piracy, hates ruining the viewer experience.
Do you know remember the advert? It's like, would you steal a car?
Yeah.
I felt like that man. I terrified her, by the way. I was very polite. I just went over and said, "Can you turn that off, please? You bitch." And she was genuinely terrified.
Listen here, slag. Turn that off now.
Have you got any more negatives? Let's not get too negative.
I don't know.
This is joyous, this film.
I don't think it will age well, unfortunately. I don't think the film, the central part of the film in the real world, the whole daughter-mother relationship, the Will Ferrell stuff, it is strong enough to carry this film. I think aspects will. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that it was made for our generation, I think the fact that it has a song that slaps so hard, I think Ryan Gosling's performance will last. And I think Greta Gerwig's kind of mission in it, I think is really kind of commendable. And I applaud her tenacity in it. It just didn't, I was going in, maybe because I didn't see it straight away, but maybe because I'd seen it I saw it a week and a half after it came out, and I've seen Oppenheimer obviously later. I think the hype, I was expecting more, and I didn't go in perhaps as willing and open mind to kind of accept it, and so I had higher expectations and it didn't deliver. And I think that's true of Oppenheimer actually as well. That's why I didn't give it 5 stars. I think there's some parts of it that just deep down in my gut, I just think, I didn't get the feels. I've got some Yakult in the fridge.
Greta Gerwig, though, Dan.
Yeah.
She's free for free. She's on fire. Lady Bird, Little Women is an unbelievable film. Barbie, like she's on an absolute fucking tear.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see what's next.
I agree. And I think,
and with her
we want more filmmakers like her. Do you know what I mean? We don't need fucking more of the
Michael Bay or whatever.
Yeah, Michael Bay and all the rest of it. And,
Well, I mean, with obviously Noah Baumbach, her husband who helped write the script, for Squid and the Whale, Marriage Story, they like the indie darlings, I guess, of Hollywood.
Indie darlings.
Yeah, like the Sundance darlings or whatever. Jumping into the box office, so Barbie's now past $1 billion.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer's done 500 mil, which is like the most ever for a World War II film. Barbie's this only be out 3 weeks or so, and Barbie's just scorching the earth.
I want to end our kind of discussions on these two films on that. It's been really nice to have Barbenheimer as a concept and feel a real buzz around cinema. And me and you both don't like Tom Cruise, and there was all that drama, wasn't there, about everybody should come and see Mission Impossible 12 because I saved cinema with Top Gun Maverick, and it's like, fuck off, Tom Cruise, tiny Tom Cruise. I'm gonna it was really fun, like. All the Barbie cinemas, we went and saw it in an Everyman, but even that.
You how rich?
I know, sweat me, drinking wine. But even that had like the box outside where you could take photos. Obviously, we did get the memo on pink, so we wore that. So we've Oppenheimer, big kind of amazing cast. It just a big blockbuster. It's a Nolan blockbuster, like you say, best since Inception, and that's Inception's one of Inception's biggest kind of medals it can take is that it's a great fucking rip-roaring blockbuster, but it's just a brilliant film at the same time. It doesn't compromise on anything, and it was really nice to have both films this summer have a bit of hype and have a bit of fun around it.
I mean, that only came about though because I can't quite remember the full subtext here, but Nolan switched from I can't remember what the order is here. Something like he switched from like Warner Bros. 21st Century Fox or wherever it is, because during Tenet he got very angry with the producers because they took everything out of the cinemas early and put it on HBO Max,
right? Okay,
which belongs to I can't remember which Warner Brothers, I believe it belongs to. Okay. And they put it on HBO Max. And he got super angry and he switched producers. So to get him back, they put Barbie on his release date. So that's the only reason this has actually happened.
I don't care. I think that's
Tom
fun.
Cruise is very angry that he only got all the IMAXs for 1 week because Christopher Nolan is actually prepared and booked them all out when he's filmed it.
And is a better director.
Yeah, than Tom Cruise. Cruise director.
Tiny Tom Cruise, please.
I know you said you wanted to end it there, but that was very nice. Cinema's still alive. I'm getting fed up with streaming. I want to just be in cinemas and watch amazing films. Let's end on this though. So Mattel,
yes,
who make Barbie,
Yes.
have now made a big splash. Because obviously they've hit 1 billion and they've announced a few more films.
All right.
Along this theme. So, I mean, this is like, it's very annoying of just copying and pasting. So they've now done Polly Pocket, who's apparently is another toy.
Yeah, I remember Polly Pocket.
So they've got Lily Collins to do it, who's Phil Collins' daughter, who was in that film that we watched. I know
Lily Collins.
With, no, we watched that film with Jesse Plemons in and with Jason Segel in.
For the podcast. What's that called? The Room, or not The Room?
No, it's like Windfall.
Oh, yeah.
And Lena Dunham, from Girls.
Lena Dunham.
Used to date Jack Antonoff.
That ran out of steam as a series.
And then, have you heard this next one? They're doing a Barney film.
I'll watch fucking that.
Do you know who's playing him?
The dinosaur.
Daniel Kaluuya.
Oh.
From Get Out. Obviously.
Yeah, I know who he is.
And apparently it's going to be super postmodern, like Charlie Kaufman-esque, which sounds interesting. So, Dan, is Mattel going to be the new Marvel? Marvel's on the way down. No, okay.
No. What we would go and watch is, say it with me on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bear in the Big Blue House movie. Dick Dastardly, yeah.
Okay.
No, I think we should reserve the rights to create that. I think that's our swan song.
Intellectual property, is it? Yeah, I mean, obviously it shows it's all about the writer director, but if they're going to be fun and postmodern, it will be interesting. But I doubt that in a few years' time they'll just think, oh, they're big films because we can sell Polly Pocket, and that's why people come to the film.
Yeah, they're stupid.
Yeah, idiotic. Anyway, Dan, wonderful. So that's Barbie. That's Oppenheimer. 5 and 4.5 stars out of 10 for me. 5 for me. So I adored both of them.
4.5, 3.5. So
I'm starting to think, I think I give scores as though I'm like a publication, probably just because of my ego. Like I think I'm like Empire magazine, and you give harsher ones. You're much harsher on the old.
I am much harsher.
You really think Barbie's 3.5? If someone said, "What's Barbie?" Like 3.5 is like, I don't know what it is, like a random comedy. 3.5 for Barbie. I'm just Ken. Anywhere else, I'd be a 10.
Is it my destiny to live and die a life of blonde fragility?
Right, let's actually just end this. I'll play I'm Just Ken and just hope we don't get our asses sued off us. Dan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Nobody's listening.